Back with us now is Dallas Cowboys color analyst Babe Laufenberg. Pre-game on this radio station Sunday at 9 a.m. Kickoff at noon. Cowboys and the Commanders. And Babe, of course, will be on the call for us, the Dallas Cowboys radio network. And, of course, it's the Shan, RJ, and Bobby 840 appearance for maybe the final time in a while until we get further into the offseason. Good morning, Babe. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. I know we do a regular Thursday hit, but I kind of wanted to do it yesterday so I could bring in my new year the right way, on a high.
Thank you. Are you a resolution guy?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Well, actually, I always say, I set my New Year's resolutions kind of low because I want to achieve them. So if I said, gosh, I'd love to become an astronaut and go to the moon, that's not going to happen, and then I failed. So I usually say I just want to eat a little more pizza and drink a little more wine this year.
There we go.
And usually I can achieve that.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Did you do laundry on New Year's Day? Because they say it's a bad luck thing.
Is it really? I did because I've been a little sick. My back is bad. So I really just watched football, hung around, but I did a little laundry. I did not. Why do you tell me that now? See, I knew I should have done
away
the
good
show
vibes. Wash away the New Year's vibes.
We got black eyed peas.
Yeah.
I think pig scratch forward. Don't eat chicken, scratch backwards. My aunt was telling me something
Cabbage.
about
You want to
that.
eat cabbage for money or something like that?
Does the groundhog see his shadow? All that.
Yeah. You got a trivia
fortunately-
question?
I do, but quickly, fortunately, I'm not superstitious, never been superstitious, so I'm good with that. Okay, you ready for this?
Yes.
Jimmy Johnson used to always say, make your last game your best game, meaning just keep building on the season, make your last game your best game, and obviously they did that a couple times, beating Buffalo in the Super Bowl. Okay, Terry Bradshaw, Franco Harris, Hall of Famers, you guys know them, Peyton may not. They scored a rushing touchdown in the same game 11 times. Okay, that's rushing touchdown, same game 11 times. That's the second highest total for any pair of teammates in NFL history. Who has the most?
Staubach and Dorsett.
Good answer, but not correct, but that would be a good answer. Let me just say this. If Saquon stays long enough in Philadelphia, he and Hurts will have that.
Is it? Is it Derrick Henry or Lamar Jackson?
That's a great. And if they stay long enough, they may get there too, but no.
Riggins? Who was his quarterback, though?
Theismann
and Riggins.
Theismann. No. Are we really going to have to go to Peyton?
Terry Allen and Gus Farrat.
Guys, we're thinking too far back here. It's Dak and Zeke. Dak and Zeke.
Oh,
really? Wow.
Right under our noses and topical.
Wow, very topical.
That was very good, babe.
Well done.
Well, let me see if Peyton knows how many times he did it.
Let's see. It wasn't 13, 14. I think it was 15. Was that right, babe? 15 times?
You're exactly right.
Wow.
He didn't even know what the Red Sea was, but he knows all Babe's trivia questions.
John Paul II, but there you go.
That was very good. Who's Eisenhower, Peyton? Do you know who that is?
Babe, what did you make of the Zeke news?
It was kind of startling, if you will, last game of the season, and it was like, what? But not to say that it shouldn't have happened. You know what's funny? This really should have happened when they suspended him. And I was surprised. At that point, I said, today it'll be a suspension. Tomorrow they're going to release him. And I was just, why would you bring him back at that point when all the things that were happening were happening? It's like, okay, what are you getting out of this? The novelist Thomas Wolfe said, you can never go home. And I think that's true in so many aspects of life, and especially with that situation. Hey, Zeke, we all know. I mean, he was a great player, not a good player. He was a great player. He was bumping up against a Hall of Fame player, but he wasn't that guy at this point. We all know that. And you can't go home and try to make it work again. And it was just I thought it was a weird, what's the word I'm looking for, relationship, if you will, from the start. Again, it's like bringing back your old girlfriend years later. And then you realized, oh, wait, okay, yeah, that's why we broke up in the first place. So, again, it didn't make sense. Training camp, if you recall, in training camp, they were saving him. And now Zeke is saying he didn't get a chance to compete. Again, then they suspended him. Should have been I would have released him at that point. And I'm not sure who. I'm sure there was some talk in the building. I'm sure some people wanted to say, hey, let's just cut our losses here, or whatever you want to call it. But whoever prevailed, and it turned into what it did yesterday. And I can't see any team picking him up for a playoff run.
Where are you leaning on the return of Mike McCarthy?
Well, I leaned heavily at the start of the season and at the end of last season. Why are we even talking about this in terms of he's got to do this and this to get his job back? We all know 12-5, 3 consecutive years. No other team had done that. I understand the playoffs. He's only won one playoff game in his last 7 seasons, by the way. So you got him in here to win playoff games, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. I think you can spin your wheels looking for that next guy that's going to be as good as Mike McCarthy. Now, that said, I don't like the notion of, well, who are you going to get? Who's going to be better than him? To me, your job as an organization is go find the next Sean McVay. Go find the next Kevin O'Connell. Go find the next Matt LaFleur. That's your job. So I don't think you ever want to be in a position where you say, well, gosh, who are we going to get? Who's going to be better? Well, there are guys out there. I couldn't tell you exactly who they are, but there are guys out there, and it's your job to go find one if you want to make that change. But again, the bottom line, I would not be in favor of letting him out. I think the big mistake was not extending him, putting everybody. All you had to do was extend him a year, right? So let's just say hypothetically you wanted to fire him after this season. You owe him for 1 year. Who cares? This is $1 billion organization.
Yeah, but what would have looked crazier, extending him after the Green Bay loss or extending him after this season? They both appear and they both sound crazy.
Well, I wouldn't have said it was crazy last year. You could have. I think you could have said, "Look, we've been to the playoffs 3 consecutive years. We went 12-5. We had 1 bad game." And that was an easy sell in my mind. There's always going to be, as you guys well know, a faction of Cowboy fans that no matter what you're doing or who you have, they hate Dak, they hate McCarthy, there's always going to be that faction. But I would have. It's one thing to say, hey, totally believe in this guy, but yeah, we're going to put everybody on the last year of their contract. And again, didn't have to give him a new 5-year deal, but just extend him out a year. And if you fired him after this season, you owe him for 1 year. You owe your staff for 1 year. Again, it's $1 billion organization.
Babe Laufenberg joining us here, 105 through the Fan. Do you think they would, because you mentioned go find the next Sean McVay, find the next whoever. Do you think they would go and hire a coordinator who's never been a head coach of the NFL before?
I keep hearing that they won't do that. Why? Why wouldn't they?
Because Jerry did say he didn't want to pay someone to learn on the job. He said that 2 years ago or whatever.
Well, all those guys I mentioned learned on the job, right? Sean McVay, Kevin O'Connell, Matt LaFleur. They all learned on the job, if you want to phrase it that way. So what do you want? A guy that the only guys that are going to be out there are the guys that somebody didn't want for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, that's not to say that they wouldn't be good coaches, right? You've seen people with second chances. Hey, they fired Andy Reid in Philadelphia. That was after a long relationship, though. What was he there, 12 years or whatever? Mm-hmm. So, but still, I don't get the notion that it's got to be a guy with head coaching experience.
Is it possible, Babe, that the reason why they have that thought process of just it's got to be somebody with experience before, is it similar to their thought process historically with big school college football players? I'm not going to take a chance that and be the one to find out if you can do it. I've found out I need to see that you've done it on a certain level, just like we need to see with big time college players.
Yes, but I would say it's kind of apples and oranges because I know that there was a philosophy, which is a good one, by the way, taking guys that have been productive at the major level over a number of years. And when you look at the misses, Taco Charlton. Who was the defensive tackle?
Tristan Hill.
Second round. Pardon me?
Tristan Hill, UCF.
Yeah, there we go. Tristan Hill. He wasn't even a starter for the team. So there's a lot of things to back that up in terms of when you go off of that big school productive, you better be really convinced that you've got DeMarcus Ware coming out of Troy. You know, that you've got this guy that he was there. DeMarcus Ware, just very quickly, he was a 190-pound wide receiver in high school. Mm-hmm. So there was a reason why the big schools weren't recruiting him. But as far as that, the difference between getting that coach who's done it and the player who's done it, the player's never had the opportunity, right? When they took Zach Martin, Notre Dame, 3-year starter, a lot of games under his belt, big school, all that. We didn't know for sure that he could do it, but that gives you a better chance at it. We've seen these other guys in action, right? And that's not to say that coach is in the wrong position, wrong team, wrong organization. Like I would never, anyone who was a head coach for the New York Jets, I would not say, well, look what happened with the Jets. It's like, well, you cannot overcome that organization. You can throw Carolina into that mix. You can't overcome the organization. So that's kind of where I am with that. I just don't think you need to have a guy who is a head coach. Bill Belichick was a failure in Cleveland. I'll say failure, and had a rebirth right in New England. But it's fewer and far between where you see those guys.
Has McCarthy done a better job than Garrett?
As a head coach?
Yeah.
The record would say he has, but I honestly, I kind of can't get into comparing, the two coaches and all. The record obviously says he has. The playoff has been similar, but you go 12-5. Everybody says, and I think people get tired of it, it's hard to win games in the NFL. It's hard to win 12 games in the NFL, and it's really hard to do it 3 straight years. But then, you can make an argument for or against, and I'm not going to, die on that hill, as they say, to say he should be here or he should not. But they also, this year, they lost games by 25, 38, 28, 24, 34, and they were down by 22 in the fourth quarter to Baltimore.
Yeah.
So how do you put that up against 12-5? And I know injuries, I understand all that, but they were getting blown out historically, not just franchise historically, NFL historically. And again, they had to deal with a lot of injuries. You parallel a little bit in my mind, Cowboys to San Francisco, right? You keep looking at it saying, start of the season, I wonder if they'll get San Francisco in the playoffs, and obviously neither one of them are here. In San Francisco, their season started out in training camp. Their number one wide receiver, first-round wide receiver, I should say, he gets shot. They have 2 prominent holdouts. Brandon Ayuk, he wants to be traded. Trent Williams stays out of camp. 2 weeks ago, they had a player refuse to go into a game, refuse to play. and they've had obviously a ton of injuries. So, sometimes it's just not your year. And that may have been the case for the Cowboys as well. What are we on, our seventh starting corner? So it's been a tough year.
Babe Laufenberg here on The Fan. We got about a minute. How much Trey Lance do we see on Sunday?
That's a good question. I went back, looked at the Washington game, the first one, and he had 1 play, and it was for -3 yards. So all the talk we heard about whether they're going to have this package for Trey Lance, it's going to be a good one because they've been saving it. That'll be. I would play him for sure. I think it's just going to confirm kind of what we know. Yeah. But I would get him in. There's no reason to not play him. You've seen Cooper Rush enough. This team isn't going anywhere. So I would see no reason not to play Trey Lance. But you'll have McCarthy tomorrow, right?
We will. 6:30.
I'm sure he'll answer it. He loves talking about scheme and personnel decisions.
Yeah.
And we have loved talking to you throughout the entire year, man. Thank you so much for the entertainment. I think it's been our best season yet, and don't go too far.
It's been great. Thank you. I appreciate it, guys. And next time you do How Young is Peyton, I want to be side by side with you.
Yes, there it is.
Yes, sir.